We're going to turn to the newest reporter for the CBS College Sports Network, our own Kaylee Hartung, who's my colleague on Face the Nation and CBS News here in Washington, and who's getting a new job. Starting this fall, she's going to be reporting sports for the CBS College Sports Network. Kaylee, I got to say, though, starting right off, your experience covering politics here is going to give you a leg up on this sports beat on this Nick Saban story. He, of course, is the head coach at defending national champion Alabama, and a lot of people thought, surprisingly thought, I think, that he had gotten himself all involved in a local mayor's race down there in Alabama. Not so fast, though. That would have been a great boost for this candidate, but it was not what it seemed to be. Tell us what happened. Untangle this mess for us.
No, it wasn't, Bob. You really can't make this up. So a couple of days ago, down in Bessemer, Alabama, it's a suburb of Birmingham, flyers started popping up. One of the candidates for mayor, Dorothy Davidson, seemed to have the ultimate endorsement, an endorsement from Nick Saban. So there's this nice picture, the two of them together, and a couple local papers started doing some digging. The University of Alabama, their athletic department, was very quick to correct this and say, in no way has Saban endorsed a candidate for mayor. Turns out the photo was actually one of Saban and his wife, Terry, and a campaign manager had gotten a little crafty with Photoshop and done some editing for his candidate. That campaign manager has since been fired. The candidate has admitted the misunderstanding and the error, and we'll see what happens. But,
in full disclosure here, I have to say that you and Nick Saban go way back because you are from Baton Rouge and you've had a long association with LSU. Mm-hmm. It also occurs to me, Kaylee, that while this would have been, if it had been a real endorsement by Nick Saban, it would have been a great boost for that candidate.
Huge.
In Alabama. Yeah. It would not have been.
That would destroy. Let's find a race in Louisiana now where somebody's going to have the idea to, sabotage their competitor's campaign by saying Nick Saban endorses them. That's a way to destroy a campaign in Louisiana.
Nick Saban left LSU.
He sure did.
And to take the job in Alabama.
Well, there was a stint with the Miami Dolphins in between.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
But I have to say, my sources say that when Nick Saban comes back to Baton Rouge now, that he brings plenty of security with him.
He better.
Because in Alabama and Louisiana, as we all know, they don't just play football down there, they live football.
Football might be a religion, but there's a reason for separation between church and state. He doesn't need to get involved in politics.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about your new job. You're going to be working for the CBS College Sports Network, and what are you going to be doing?
So I'm going to be reporting from the sidelines of the Navy games, just up the road to Annapolis. Really excited. They've got a great quarterback in Ricky Dobbs. I think he's going to be a very dynamic character to follow, and they're poised to have a pretty good season. So I'm thrilled to be right there and be a part of the CBS College Sports Network.
A lot of developments on college football last night.
Late last night.
We continue to have these teams leaving one conference, going to another.
Yeah, realignment is not over. So there's a lot of speculation right now that BYU is going to try to leave the Mountain West and go independent, have a deal similar to Notre Dame's, which I know you're not a fan of. But so late last night, the Mountain West Conference announced that Fresno State and Nevada have now joined the Mountain West. A lot of people, there's a lot of talk about what this means. Dennis Dodd, a great sports writer for CBS Sports, says he thinks the big winner here is the BCS, because after all of this talk of, should we move to a playoff system? What's wrong with the BCS championship bowl series and all of that? Orrin Hatch has been one of the biggest opponents of the BCS, but now with Utah moving to the Pac-10 in 2011, and if BYU's an independent, will he give up that fight?
And of course, those of us who are TCU grads, we kind of have a dog in this fight.
Absolutely.
Full disclosure here. Our beef with the BCS is that if you're in the Mountain West Conference, which my school TCU is, you don't get an automatic bid to a BCS bowl, and these are the big bowls, of course. You have to be invited. As TCU, we did get into the Fiesta Bowl last year. But here's the deal, and here's the beef that we have, and it's the beef that Orrin Hatch has. If you get into a BCS Bowl, and that's the TCU Horned Frogs right out there, and you just saw that's Coach Gary Patterson right there. When you get into a BCS Bowl, that's worth about $4 million. If you get into one of these lesser bowls, it's probably $750,000. Now, here's the rub. everybody who doesn't get into a BCS Bowl gets 0, except Notre Dame. Because they're an independent, they get $1.3 million just because they're Notre Dame. And some of us have a problem with that. So I noticed, well, as a matter of fact, your friend Gary Patterson, the head coach at TCU, had a little advice for BYU.
He sure did. He sure did. He said if this is the way BYU is looking to win a national championship by going independent, this is not the way to go. Let's just play some football.
Let's just play some football.
Yeah.
How do you think for all the shakedowns in these conferences, those things will take place next year?
2011. So, there are these moves. You've got Nebraska moving conferences, and like I mentioned, Utah, all of this, nothing takes effect until 2011. So we've got one more season, the way it all stands now, and then things will start to change.
And getting back to Nick Saban, most of the preseason puts Nick Saban's team
absolutely at number one. It's hard to imagine Nick Saban not having a great defense, but that's the only weakness that people are thinking about. I want to say they lost 9 starters after last season, so if they've have any ground to make up, it's on defense. But
I also have to say that TCU ranked generally 6th or 7th in most of the preseason polls. A lot of people think has a better ball club than they had last year when they went undefeated until they got to the Fiesta Bowl. I still say we have the best quarterback that nobody knows in college football today, and that's Andy Dalton. So I hope you'll find a way to do some stories about TCU, Kaylee.
If you have anything to do with it, I'm sure I will.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and
Thanks,
congratulations on your new job.
Thank
We'll all be watching.